Now in this section we will be discussing about the other two types of serial protocols, that is basically the serial interfacing standards. Serial peripheral interface and serial connect interface. So we will see one by one. First we will see about the serial peripheral interface. So in case of serial peripheral interface, it is a synchronous serial communication. So now you have an idea of what is a synchronous serial communication, and it is used for short distance communication primarily in embedded system. So this SPI standard, it is used basically in embedded system, and it is a synchronous serial communication. So what will be the basic feature? Being synchronous, there will be clock used for communication between the transmitting and the receiving end. And they also work in full duplex mode, that is it enables in a particular time itself to and fro from the transmitter and the receiver the communication is possible, and it uses a master slave architecture with a single master. So there cannot be multiple master, it can only be a single master, but there can be multiple slaves, and the master is one who is going to originate the frame for reading and writing. So master has to initiate the communication, and there can be only a single master, but there can be many slaves, but master has to originate the communication, and multiple slave devices are supported through selection with individual slave select, sometimes also called as chip select lines. So with the help of these chip select lines or slave select lines, the slaves can be selected. So there are four signal lines for communication. They are, first one, serial clock. This serial clock, it is a clock which is generated by the master. So this clock is also always given from the master to the slave. Then next one, MOSI, that is master out, slave in. So it means that the out is coming from the master and the input it is going to the slave. So data from the master to the slave. Next, in the reverse manner, that is data from the slave to the master, that is master and slave out, and the slave select. Okay, so these are the four signal lines for communication. And another thing to note here is that the slave select or the chip select pin which we are using, it will be an active low signal. Okay, so these are the four signal lines which is used for communication in the case of a serial peripheral interfacing standard. So when you are saying the configuration, that is as I told, there will be only a single master, but there can be multiple slave. So first is the figure shown when there is only a single slave, and second one, it is a figure shown when there are multiple slave available, and with the help of the chip select pin or the slave select pin, we have to choose the which slave has to communicate to the master. So always the serial clock, it will be given by the master. Okay, it will be initiated by the master. So in multi-slave configuration, the master is usually a microcontroller which has an SPI controller unit built on the chip itself. SPI bus specified pins, they are available in these microcontrollers, and in the figure shown, the microcontroller's SPI unit, it has got 3 slave select pin, but only one can be selected at a particular time. So among these 3 slaves shown, these 3 SPI slaves shown, only one will be selected. Since it is an active low signal, we are representing it as slave select bar. And we have to note one thing, that whichever slave we are selecting, the other slaves which are not being selected, they should enable their MOSI and MISO pins to the tri-state or to the high impedance state, that is for isolating them from other ICs. Okay, so which slaves we are not selecting, those slaves, they should make their pins, that is MOSI and MISO signals, they should be on a high impedance state. So high impedance state means that the output will be disconnected, leaving the signal open. Okay, so it is used for isolation. Now this is how the SPI protocol work. So it will be like a ring buffer. So there is a master and a slave, and the serial clock is always initiated from a master, and we assume that we have got buffer register both on the side of the master and on the side of the slave, And in one cycle, one clock cycle itself, two actions takes place. What are those two actions? It's mentioned here. That is, a master is sending a bit on the MOSI line, and the slave read this bit from the same MOSI line, and then the slave will send back a bit on the MISO line, and the master read this bit from the same MISO line. So in one single cycle itself, the data transfer, that is from the master to the slave and from the slave to the master, it is taking place. So these are the 4 signal lines on the SPI standard, and this is how the operation works. So the buffer registers, they are serially connected using the MISO and MOSI pins, and we have seen that in one clock cycle itself these two transfer takes place. So if the shift registers are 8-bit long, then after 8 clock cycles, then you can say the data transfer has taken place. So whatever data we are receiving, it should be copied and saved at the receiver side. And once a particular data transfer has occurred, suppose if 8-bit long, after 8 cycles, the data has been completely transferred, then the buffer at the transmitter side should be fresh for the data again to be sent. So this process is going to continue until the required frames of data is being sent. So this is how basically the SPI protocol work, that is with the help of these signal lines. So if you are having multiple slave, with the help of this chip select, slave select active low signal, we can select the required slave, and in one clock cycle itself, this to and fro communication with the help of these buffer registers is going to take place. And these are some of the important features of the SPI protocol. So it can operate at higher speed, that is, we can see that in one clock cycle itself the communication is taking place for 1 bit, and we have compared it to the I2C protocol. We will see in the later section what is this I2C protocol. And in case of SPI, the clock frequency up to 70 MHz is possible, but the problem is that it does not receive any acknowledgement signal, and this is working best in the case of single slave. Although multi-slave system is possible, it is going to work best in the single slave. And slave devices, some examples are given. These devices frequently use this type of protocol, and also some popular microcontrollers like the ARM PIC, etc. They have got this on-chip SPI controlling peripheral module. So all these are going to use the SPI standard for the serial communication. So next we will see the another type of protocol, that is a SCI protocol. Now the basic difference between the SPI and SCI is that SCI, it is a asynchronous mode of communication, okay, whereas SPI, there was synchronous mode of communication and clock has to be always there. So if it is asynchronous, there won't be any type of clock. Okay, so SCI is nothing but basically it is a UART, asynchronous mode port. So it is following all the rules of UART protocol. So we have already seen what is UART protocol, and in UART also we are having both transmission and reception. So it is programmable for both the transmission and reception. So it is capable of this full duplex mode. And as you can see, we are having 2 simple pins, that is transmit and receive. So by using this UART protocol, this SCI interfacing standard is going to work. So here at receiver input from a transmitter output, and this is at the transmitter output for a receiver input. So we are having both the pins for transmission and reception. It works in full duplex mode. So these are some of the features of SCI standard. That is, there are 32 possible baud rates. So many type of baud rate has to be fixed in the case of UART protocol. So in case of SCI standard, there are possible of 32 baud rate which has to be fixed. The serial in and out lines, the baud rate are not separately programmable. That is, together you have to program the baud rate for the serial in and out lines. Okay, it must be same for the in and out lines. And additional feature is that it has got 2 control register bits, T8 and R8, that is for interprocessor communication in 11-bit format. So we know that in UART protocol, either we have got the 10-bit or 11-bit format, isn't it? So in addition to that, we also have some control register bits for interprocess communication. That is, all these interfacing standards, we use it for inter-process communication. So some additional control register bits are also mentioned. And there is a receiver wake up feature which is being programmable by another bit, that is the RW, receiver wake up unavailable bit. So understand that all this RW, RWU, T8, R8, etc. they are all bits in the control register. So there will be control register, and in this control register some special bits are mentioned, that is T8 and R8 bit, they are used for interprocess communication, and another bit called as RW bit, that is for waking up of the receiver. So if the receiver is wake up, we call that the RW, it is being set, the bit is being set, and if the bit is being disabled, we tell that the receiver, it is being reset. So once we have to wake up the receiver by setting up this bit, then the receiver of the slave, it does not interrupt the succeeding frames. So for successful transferring of frame, this particular bit, it has to be set, that is the receiver, it has to be enabled. Okay, so a number of processor, it can communicate on the SCI bus using these control bits, that is R8, T8, RW, etc. So here we have mentioned some special features of SCI. Basically, SCI, it works on the UART protocol, that is asynchronous mode port, which enables for full duplex operation, and as you can see the pin structure, there are both transmit and receive pins on both the sides. So in this particular section, we have discussed about the two types of interfacing standard, that is SPI and SCI. First one working on a synchronous mode of communication, and other one working on a asynchronous mode.